Okay, hi there. Welcome everyone. And look, for those that don't know me, my name's Andrew Jobling, and I'm sort of going to host this wonderful celebration for Bill and his new book, Straining at the Oars. And I just firstly, I guess I want to say thank you, everyone that's here. He's holding it up. Don't worry, Bill. You'll get lots of opportunity to show it. So I guess the first thing I want to do is just say thank you for being here on behalf of Bill. I mean, this is awesome. You know, we put out the Facebook event page. I think 6 people said they were coming, and that included me and Bill. But we've now got 16 people on here, which is awesome. So I just look, there's so much that writing a book is a wonderful thing to, you know, and those of you that have done it know that. But we don't do it to be an author. You know, we do it to impact lives, and we do it to have a, you know, to help us fulfill a purpose that we're here to do. And you know, this is such a beautiful thing, and this is a great testament, Bill, to you and people that want to support you and love you and know you and are here for you. And so I think the first thing I want to do is to say, well done, Bill. Congratulations on your first book. Hold it up again. Straight there it is. And so let me just give you a bit of an overview of the format of today. What we're going to do is Bill's obviously going to talk a lot about his book. I'm going to sort of throw some questions at him and get him to talk a bit about his journey. And, you know, because Straining at the Oars is not just the title of a book, it's something that Bill's had to experience. And even very recently, haven't you, Bill? You've had a lot of content for your book over the last few years. So it's sort of really reinforced why you've written the book. The struggles you've had to go through over the last couple of years, as we all have. You know, every one of us has. It was amazing. I first met Bill in 2019 when I was, you know, Bill was pastoring the church in Yakima, which is for the Australians that don't know, Yakima is a beautiful, beautiful town in Washington State, and with views of mountains, and oh my gosh, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful place. And I was grateful to be there with a great friend of mine, Dr. Alan Meyer, and we spoke to some men. And as John said, I posed a question at the end of my talk, and I said, if there's anyone that feels like they've got a message they want to share and feels like a book is something they want to do, then come and talk to me. And Bill did. So that was September 2019 that Bill, we started talking, didn't we, Bill? And then, as we all know, what happened early 2020. But here we are now in May 2023, and Bill is now published author. So just shows, doesn't it, that with focus and persistence and a dream and a vision, that anything's possible. So well done.
And the book really was developed, and I was writing most of it while actually going through a very difficult season with the pandemic. And some other life issues that I was straining at the oars even as I wrote the book. So it was confirmation that I should be writing, because it was also very therapeutic for me as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, okay, so let's go back a bit before the pandemic, Bill, because you came to me, well, we started talking in 2019, so before any pandemic and before you you were going through some of your real deep struggles. What was it for you that inspired you to want to write a book?
You.
Really?
So the book premise comes from a phrase that straining at the oars is found in the Bible, Mark chapter 6, verse 48, that talks about the disciples out on the lake in the middle of a storm, and Jesus is on the shore, and he looks out and he sees them, and it says that they were straining at the oars, or another translation says painfully making headway. The image I had of that verse that I read years ago that stuck with me was just the difficulties in life when we try to do it all on our own and we feel as though we're not getting anywhere, nothing's changing, there's no difference in our life, and we're just exhausted and tired. And so that day when you spoke to the men that morning, that verse kept coming back to me, the thought of doing a book about how life or seasons in lives can be very painful and difficult, like we're straining at the oars. And I said, okay, God, if today is the day that you want me to start writing the book, then let me know. And that's when Andrew spoke that morning and said, if you feel God is nudging you to write a book, let's talk. So we did. And here we are.
Isn't it amazing, hey?
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey.
It has been a crazy journey. And then, so what the premise, just give us a quick overview, Bill, of the premise of the book. What's the goal? What is it you hope that a reader will, when they get to the end of the book, what do you hope they will know, feel? What will they be doing differently to when they started writing a book? What is the hope for you?
Yeah. Well, there's two parts to the book. And the first one is all about straining at the oars. And it talks about my history, the past few years I've gone through, including a divorce that took place in 2021. And but it deals with what I had come to discover through counseling, through prayer, through reading, about why my life always seemed to be painfully making headway. Why is it I felt like I just could not make any progress in feeling the abundant life that Christ wants us to have? And so the first part of the book is about what I discovered, but it sounds like people are resonating with. It deals with straining at the oars of depression, of narcissism, and toxic relationships, straining at the oars of conflict, not wanting to deal with conflict. We often avoid it or deal with it in an unhealthy way. So I talk about the oars that were pertinent in my life that I was able to come to terms with. I've not perfected, those areas. I'm still growing and learning. The second part of the book is that I also discovered that the Apostle Paul writes about in Ephesians about how he is straining forward. And I thought sometimes it is straining at the oars, but we want to make movement. And there are things that we can do as we allow God into our journey, whatever the storms of life or the seasons of life that we're going through. If we can allow God to come along us as Jesus got in the boat, then we can learn to maybe set down the oars, wait upon God, wait for the storms maybe to settle down, or just kind of allow God to row for us and take us, help us navigate through the storms of life. I talk about setting down the oars of guilt, the oars of shame, the oars of anger, those things that keep us from experiencing the full life that God wants us to have. Put those down and receive forgiveness, receive joy, receive peace. And so I use a lot of scripture to back that up and a couple of practices. And so my hope is that as anybody reads the book, that God will bless them in unexpected ways, that maybe they didn't realize they were battling depression or a narcissistic relationship, or that they were struggling with guilt or anger, and that something in the book will resonate with them or even somebody they know, that they could help then perhaps begin to experience the life that God always intended for us to experience. It doesn't have to be a battle. It doesn't have to be a struggle. And even in the midst of chaos and storms, God is one of the the titles of a chapter is the eye of the storm, that God is in the eye of the storm with us. Doesn't take away the storm always, but he's with us. And how can we latch on to him during those times?
Awesome. That's great, Bill. Thank you. Now, I had a question. I'm sure there might be a couple of people sitting here want to know. I'm obviously you are a devout Christian and have a strong faith, as I know there are quite a few people on this call do, as do I, and my faith has come quite later in my life. There may be some people, Bill, sitting here that don't have faith, that they don't have any affiliation with or relationship with God. What do you say to those people? What benefit is the book to people that maybe don't have an active faith with God?
Sure. Whether you have faith in God or not, you struggle in life, and you may be just confused. Why is it so hard? Why is it I continually come up against this brick wall and continue to beat my head against it? And I think the book, apart from the scriptural part in text, I've used other resources that I have leaned upon. Particularly, I've learned a lot about living with a narcissist. My dad was a huge narcissist, and I did a lot of reading and come to realize the definition of narcissism and how you can live with a narcissist or determine when it's time to walk away. And so there are steps, guidelines, insights that, apart from having a faith in God, I think anybody can relate to.
Awesome. Great. Okay, beautiful. And look, I think we probably all believe in something outside of ourselves, whether if it's God or, I think I think everyone has some kind of faith in something. And when we try and work it out ourselves, we tend to get ourselves deeper and deeper into the poop. But when we can pass it up, let it go, give it to something else, it seems to bring us a lot of peace. I know, Bill, my Christian journey really came out of a desperate, deep, dark place in my life, and it's helped me enormously. So tell us now, Bill, just because we started writing the book together, working on the book together in 2019, then COVID hit, and then all of a sudden your storm just turned into a torrential, absolute, what would you call it, a monsoon?
Yeah.
You then faced an incredible storm. Tell us a bit about the storm you faced.
Sure.
And then how that's helped you with your book, and then obviously the stuff you've written about, how it's helped you come out the other side to where you are now.
Yeah, so there's two sides to the same coin going through the pandemic. My life, I felt, was on cruise control. I was pastoring a church I loved that I was at over 20 years ago. I was really enjoying the ministry that I was involved with. The pandemic came, and I don't know how it was in Australia, but churches were shut down for the most part in the United States, and we had to scramble. We had to figure out how to do church differently. And as a result of that, so it was very stressful, a lot of isolation, but it allowed me to think and process and pray. And then out of that came one of the chapters, actually, that so much for those who do have a faith in God, or even, I think, life in general, it's about doing. We all are doing something. And whether it's our job or it's a relationship, a marriage we're in, taking care of children, we're always doing more than we probably can or should. And so a part of that for me was, I'm tired of just doing life. I want to be the person I'm supposed to be, because the pandemic, boy, it created a lot of anger, a lot of division in our country, in the world, in churches. And I found myself anxious about a lot of things. So it helped me look at, why is it our culture it says that we have to be productive, overproductive. We have to keep striving for more, for better. And we get exhausted and tired because we're never going to reach it. Once we reach the one goal, there's another one put before us, and we're comparing ourselves to everybody else who is being productive and successful. But we don't take time to understand, well, who am I? What is this human being supposed to be like during this time? Am I supposed to keep trying to be productive and successful? Or do I know how to slow down, to take a pause, to take care of myself, to process, analyze my life and my world and my relationships? Because I talk to so many people, they work 80-hour weeks. They're nonstop. They take work home with them. They don't know how to let go because they're constantly striving for more. So that's what the pandemic did for me, was to help me to slow down. And I actually felt I did some very productive work on the book during that time, because I had time because we weren't having to do a whole lot. And so it allowed me to focus on the book a little bit.
Yeah. But that was just the beginning, wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
Bill, then
So,
the marriage ended, and then I know you
yeah,
moved about 4 or 5 different times, and I know you and I had a lot of conversations where you were in a bit of a dark place. Tell us a bit
yeah,
about that journey and then coming out the other side.
yeah. When we get to a point where we think life is going well, just be prepared for that next wave that's going to hit you and knock you down. And that was for me um, at the end of 2020, going into 2021. My marriage had been suffering for many years, and it came to a head in 2021, and my wife filed for divorce, and that just tanked me. And I went back into that doing mode. What can I do? How can I be better? How can I fix this? How can I solve this? And it just tanked me. And all I had to do was surrender the oars. I talk about in the book, there are some things you can't control and some things you can't change. And I wanted to control and change everything, but it wasn't meant to be. And so 2021 was tough. I ended up moving from Yakima back to California, not knowing what I was going to do, not knowing what my income was going to be. Um, Things then changed last year, and I was making headway. I was actually in a calm season at the beginning of the year and striving, but then through some other circumstances, I just hit that dark place you were talking about last year. And through the fall of last year, had to really allow God into my storm, and because I couldn't do it anymore. I got counseling. I've had counseling for a long time. I leaned on friends, and Norma and Don here on the Zoom were dear friends during that time. John Stolzenbach was a dear friend during that time. They saw me at some of my darkest times. But I think the humbling part for me was, as a pastor, as a hospice chaplain, once again now, I'm always caring and serving for others and wanting to help carry their burdens. But for me to have to reach out for others to help me carry my burdens during that was very humbling, but very rewarding.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. And I think I'm feeling that everyone on this call is relating to what you're talking about. Maybe we haven't gone through a divorce, but we all had to go through times where we've lost control of things in our life, right? Like
Mhm.
Melbourne, Australia is officially the most locked down city in the world, I think. So we know what it's like to lose control. And then you're right, Bill, don't we just try and work it out ourselves and work harder and do more and stress more and thinking we're going to come up with the answers, and we rarely do. So to be able to just pass it up, let it go, and just pray about it or meditate about it or whatever you do, the answers will always come. So
Yeah,
amazing.
and I mentioned several times in the book, I'm not an expert in these areas. I'm just sharing my experience and where I went to learn and to get help. And I mentioned counseling. I offer several books, Christian, non-Christian, to read, to go through. One of the things that in the pandemic that I had to even stress to our staff is, even while we were in lockdown and working from home, there was almost constant pressure on, well, what are you doing? What are you working on? How are you being productive? And I had to remind them, sometimes the most productive thing we can do is to be still and just process, figure out where we are in the present and not about where the future is going. What is it we need now in order to be the best us that we can be, the best version of who we are supposed to be, so that we can then really truly help others. But we're not going to be able to help others if we're not taking care of ourselves.
That's so true, isn't it? And our
Yeah,
future is really only as a product of what we do right now.
yeah,
We try and forecast the future, create the future, think about the future, worry about the future, but it's only what we do in this moment that will ever determine the direction we take. So,
mhm.
Bill, what I want to ask, I think the next thing I want to do, I know you mentioned there's a couple of people here that have either read the entire book or have read some of the book. Would you like to maybe, Bill, introduce a couple of people? Because I'd love to. It's great for you and I to talk about how good your book is, but people are going, yeah. Of course, you're going to say your book's good. Let's hear from some people that have actually read it, and
Sure.
we're not going to pay them until they say something really nice. So only joking, obviously.
Well, I'm looking over your shoulder at the title of your book, Tears of Joy. And unfortunately, a couple of people I wanted on here told me they started reading the book and began crying as they were reading it. So I know and I've heard that from others, it's resonating with them. Either they've gone through it and their tears of joy of being on the other side, because the disciples' goal is to get to the other side of the lake, and Jesus gets them there. So they're not here, but I do have Roz, a dear friend that goes back to 2019 as well, who is been a part of my journey and who has spoken truth to me and been very bold and blunt with me, but very loving and caring. And she got the book recently. And Roz, you said you read the whole thing, right?
Roz, do you have to unmute yourself, Roz? Roz, take yourself off mute.
You have to unmute.
Roz, you need to unmute, Roz.
You know, look at
How's
your
that?
picture.
There
I
you
got
go.
it.
Yay!
Yep.
Welcome.
Yep.
Roz.
Okay.
So-
If you can hear me, I'm happy to speak to this book. Bill, first off, as I'm reading it, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you revealed so much of yourself that it was like having you in the living room with me. I laughed through it. I cringed through it, the narcissist part. I chuckled at the cat story. But it reflected so much of what I found, you know, in our life experiences, we're told do. Oh, you know, it's not important, that works are not important. As Christians, we're told, oh, it's not works, it's by faith. And yet subtly, always works are brought back in. And so for my journey, it was, you know, do. No, you got to just be, do, be, do. And pretty soon I'm doing those mantra stuff, you know, of which am I in? And your book it had a nice diffusing, calming, you know, I'm like the Instapot that has that pressure, and I have to have a natural release. And always it goes back to God, always, because we cannot be without God. We cannot do without God. We can't sing that song of life if we don't have God at the helm. And if we think we're doing anything, that's fallacy. It's the Lord himself that gives us the enablement, the thoughts, the energy, the wherewithal, the talent to do it. And sometimes, I had a very loving, wonderful church secretary up in Alaska who was the busiest person. And she'd turn to me and I'd say, Sheila, chill. And she'd look at me, and the only thing that really got her is I'd say, okay, Martha. And then she would turn to me and she'd say, Roz, Martha got a bad rap. And I thought, someone has to do this, she'd say. And mentally, I took that in, and I found myself reacting with a bit of pride, just all the balls that I could juggle. And then the Lord let me have the balls. And then I realized I couldn't do any of it at all. You know, so your book always brings that back home. It's reflective, it's resourceful, it's insightful, and it's compelling, because what I did is, as I'm reading it, I'm going, ooh, I'm back in that mode again. And I also have had bouts of depression, and there's very little that you can do in that depression except look and say, oh, I'm not doing enough. And Satan's always happy to jump in there and say, no, you're not, you know. And so for me, the book was just kind of like that pressure valve on a pressure cooker, where I went, come back to earth, Roz. You relax, chill. You don't have to do all. You don't have to be all. You just need to be in the palm of his hand. And you gave me scripture after scripture that recounted that and brought me back to that, you know, to the main source, to life. And so I enjoyed your book thoroughly, Bill. And I say, yay, you.
Awesome.
She spurred me on to write
Thanks,
the
Roz.
book. When I didn't have it in me, she said, keep writing. How's that book coming? And so she held me accountable. The other person who also has not only gotten the book and started reading it, but has purchased more to give to friends. So, and that's John Stolzenbach. So John, come and
That was called Faith. That I have. There are books in Columbus, Ohio. There are books in Pennsylvania, and I sent those before I read the book. So I went out on a limb. And what I found in reading the book is that there's so many things that I identified with Bill. And when you were in your chapter, the beating wins, the importance of a support system. And as I would read a chapter, and Bill and I used to Zoom every Wednesday, and now we Zoom in person in the evening after his work. And I'll start to share my underlines, and he'll go, "Wow, that is really good. Who wrote that?" He said, "Maybe I need to go reread the book again." And that has been great. The importance of support. Bill and I, very early on, we went very deep with our relationship, and just felt very comfortable and able to share just about everything with each other. The perfect storms that Bill talks about in one of the chapters, that God doesn't waste a thing, even in the worst possible tsunami, hurricane, tornado, whatever has hit our lives. God doesn't waste anything. And as Roz said, and others, the narcissism, I have them in my life. And I know that I have that tendency. Depression, Bill and I share that together. I think probably the father wounds that Bill shared and I share. And then that chapter on conflict. And I am as guilty as any in the passive aggressive aspect of it. And I don't do conflict very well. And so those are some of the thoughts. And I'm up to the point, I've read through all the bad stuff, and I'm ready to release and receive. And I can't wait to see how, the rest of the story, thank you, Paul Harvey, as to what, how we're going to end this thing. But it's been an honor, Bill, to walk along beside you, and to, we both have been lifting each other up, and it's a joy to be reading the book. And Bill is the real thing, and just your openness in the good, the bad, the ugly of life. And in all of it, he has a great sense of humor.
Thanks, John.
That's
So,
awesome.
So I'm looking, I don't know, Norma and Don, I know you ordered the book. I don't know if you've gotten it or had a chance to even start reading it.
Our copy hasn't come yet.
Okay.
But let me give a commercial for you, because you have been with us since the 80s.
Yep.
In some very dark places then and recently. I once asked you how it felt to be the father figure to a middle-aged woman when you were working with our kids. And you performed 2 of our children's weddings, and you have been a rock always. And I hope we've been a rock for you too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you,
Thanks.
Norma.
Thanks, Norma.
I would like to,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I would like to add a couple things to that. Bill has always been a hard worker, and he came to the Chicago area as a young youth pastor to our children. And on Wednesday night, after their children were born, we babysat their kids while he took our kids and the rest of the Presbyterian youth and entertained them and helped them to grow. One cat story that I don't know what's in the book, Bill. We had your little daughter with us, and she was crawling around on the floor and got her head stuck through the cat door in the basement door, and she wouldn't turn her head to get back out. And we were really struggling how to solve that, because she wouldn't listen. She would, she was straining at the oars, if you will. But I gradually got the door to come open and went around and turned her head and got her back through the cat hole. That was a horrible experience for us. How are we going to tell Bill and Debbie what happened to their daughter? But it raises the same question or concern that you seem to explore in your book, which we haven't got yet, is the support from other people. We were supporting you, you were supporting our kids, and we got through it together.
Amen. Yeah. And I may have one more on here, Andrew. I'm not sure. It says Jennifer. Is that you, Jennifer? My friend?
I'm sure it is.
Hey, Jennifer, you're going to have to unmute.
If that's you. Could be a
Some other-
complete stranger.
Not happening.
Okay. Well, Jennifer might be able to unmute at
Yep.
some point. No, well, that's okay. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. I think you've given us a wonderful insight into not just the book, but Bill. And the book is an extension of Bill, isn't it? I mean, he's written, it's his journey, it's his life, it's his story, it's his experiences. And there's power in vulnerability, there's power in there's honesty. None of us are perfect. We all struggle. We all straight at the oars, don't we? And just to be able to reach out and know that there's someone there that can just catch us. So,
Andrew, I have one other thing to say that
go, John.
John. No,
John.
he's not gonna hear. Go ahead, John. No, I was going to say part of straining at the oars is trying to always look like we have it together, that life is great, and we don't allow people to see what's really going on inside of us and behind closed doors.
It's okay to struggle.
Yeah.
Sorry, John, what were we going to say?
What I was going to say is that some of the people that I've sent the book to, I don't know that they'll read it right now. They're in a good place, or they're avoiding, or whatever. But I think they have it, or someone in their family may say, what's this book, Straining at the Oars? And so God's going to use it. I was helping someone who's going to give a witness talk at Celebrate Recovery in Columbus, and we were Zooming this week. And I told her about the book, and within 5 minutes after we talked, she said, I just ordered it on Amazon and it will be here by June the 4th. And she and her husband need this book desperately. So for those, some people may say, oh, thanks for the gift. I don't need this. But God's going to use it and at some time. So I just thought I would add that.
That's true, John. I think every single person here, if we're not right now or we haven't in the past, we will certainly in the future be straining at the oars. And I think having a book like this at hand is just going to be a wonderful thing. So I think let's open it up for questions. There might be some people sitting here that want to either know more about the book, maybe know more about your journey, Bill. So if there's anyone that wants to ask a question or make a comment, well, let's open it up. And if you don't want to talk and you want to put a question in the chat, that's okay as well.
Yeah, somebody was saying, I think we can relate to some time in our lives to not feeling that we're enough and being unable to fix everything. That's definitely a part of what I've experienced is I've never felt like I was enough. And that's a battle that I continue, I think, strain at the oars with, and
I think
trying to get comfortable in my skin and who I am.
Yeah, I think we all do. We all have that battle, don't we? Thanks, Els, for that.
Welcome.
Fred? Are you muted, Fred?
Fred, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Fred. Fred, mute.
You know, there are probably some relationships we wish we could just mute all the time.
We wish we could mute that negative voice in our head, don't we?
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah.
Come on, Fred, you can do it.
Put your cursor over your name and it says as a red microphone and you touch that and you can talk. Otherwise, my friend John's going to get back on. So hurry.
While we're waiting for Fred to unmute, you'll find it, Fred. Is there anyone else that's got a question or a comment or thoughts that they'd like to share?
I mean, it could be that we've just done such a great
We
job.
have done a great job. I'll ask Bill. Let me ask you, what's the plan now? You've got a book. What's next? What do you see? What's the vision? What do you want to do with it? What do you want to do as a result of it? What do you want to do next? You know, as you know,
Well,
for those that know me, say it's not. I always say it's not about the book. What is it about for you, Bill?
Well, I'm hoping to have a book signing at a local coffee shop that I go to. So we're working on that date. But the other thing that I feel prompted to do as a result of this is to do like a 40-day devotional to kind of tear apart some of the issues and help people work through it in a different fashion. I give some exercises in the book, but not enough, I think. And I'd like to do a devotional after this. And thanks to you, I have contacted Deborah Yergin here in Yakima, who's also an author, and she's going to help me look at how to, do some marketing and promoting, and we're going to swap books. So
that's awesome. Well, she's got lots of books to swap with you.
yes, yeah.
I think we've got Fred off mute. Hey, Fred.
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yay!
All right, yeah.
Oh, great.
Gotcha.
I have a question. Are you still in the ministry, or what are you doing now?
So once my kind of divorce and things settled and I went through my dark period, I got to a point where I didn't know what I was going to do next. And this literally happened in December. I was tired of looking for work. And I said, okay, God, it's up to you. I'm tired of straining at the oars, trying to find a job. You're just going to have to bring it to me. And the next day, he brought me the job I did back in 2018 here in Yakima that is a hospice chaplain. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I've actually given my book away to some families of patients who are straining at the oars in life right now and need that help and that support. So it's, I'm doing ministry and trying to find time to get with people who want to talk about the book, actually. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Great. I ordered the book. It's going to come June 6th, so I can read it then.
Great.
Looking forward to it.
People have been ordering on Amazon. A friend of mine in Mexico ordered it, so I know it happens. People have ordered it and gotten it. Amazon, and somebody ordered recently on Barnes and Noble and got it.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that was Roz.
I'll put a link in the chat for people
Oh, great.
to purchase the book. There's a link there, but you can obviously find it on Barnes and Noble and Amazon as well.
And you can also just message me in Facebook, go on to Facebook and friend me if you want. And I have some that I can send out to you and you can get it autographed. It'll be worth millions.
And if you're in Yakima or you're in Washington, you can meet face to face and meet the man himself.
Yep. Or talk to John, because he seems to be, promoting. He's my marketer right now.
He's the man. That's awesome. Okay. Anyone got any other thoughts before we wrap up?
I would just like to say we have known Bill and Debbie for almost a century, long before they had children. And if there's anything that comes through in just listening to again tonight, Bill, is how genuine you are. Your lived experience. Now, we haven't had the book, it's still coming from Barnes and Noble. But
Okay.
Your authentic voice in all the experiences we went through with you and how you were there for us with our children means a lot. And I would just, he's got something that he has lived through, and I'm excited and waiting for your book to come.
Thanks. Yeah. Hopefully the book is who I am. I try to be authentic. That's what I keep hearing people saying is, when I was a pastor, they'd say who you are on Sunday morning is who I see on Monday afternoon. So I try to be authentic and genuine. So thanks, Don.
Bill, any final comments?
No, I don't. Go online, look at the book. I haven't even looked at Amazon to see if you can see chapter titles and stuff. But, as John was saying, if it's not for you right now because life is going well, you may need it at some point, but you may know somebody who could use this. My goal in all of this, honestly, I know I'm not going to make, millions of dollars. I want,
Yeah.
well, maybe I could,
Hey,
with Andrew's help, I could make millions of
you
dollars.
watch your mouth, young man.
But my
I'll
goal
get God to send strike lightning down and get your attitude out.
I want to
Let's make
bless
$1 million.
others. I want to bless people and I want to set them free because I hear constantly of people just so tired of doing life the way they've been doing it, and that for known and unknown reasons, they just can't figure it out. And if this helps start a journey towards freedom, then goal accomplished.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Bill. Congratulations on your book, and
Thank you.
already the impact
Thank
it's
you.
having on lives. It's amazing. And thank you everyone for being here.
Yeah.
It's a testament to Bill and who he is, and the support you're getting from your friends in the US and in Australia as well. You are a global citizen, young man, and you've got a lot of people here that wish the best for you. And there, thanks, Roz. There it is, straining at the
There it
oars.
is.
There's
Yep,
John's
yep.
copy, straining at the oars. So look at this. We need some copies in Australia. So
Oh,
start spreading it. So the link, as I said, the link is in the chat. Bill is Bill Williamson on Facebook. You can reach out to him there, and if you want to chat more to him. But thanks everyone for being here, and again, Bill, congrats on your book.
thanks.
Good
Thanks,
job.
everybody.
Bill.
Thank you. Bye.